Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, reading from chapter 3 entitled Karma Yoga, text 26. Na buddhi bedam janayed Ajnanam karma sanginam Joshayat sarva karmani Vidvan yukta samacharan. Not buddhi bedam, disruption of intelligence. And janayat, he should cause. Ajnanam, of the foolish. Karma sanginam, who are attached to fruitive work. Joshayat, he should dovetail. Sarva, all. Karmani, work. Vidvan, a learned person. Yuktaha, engaged. Samacharan, practicing. Translation: so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Purport: Vedascha sarverahamiva vidya. That is the end of all Vedic rituals. All rituals, all performances of sacrifices, and everything that is put into the Vedas, including all direction from material activities, are meant for understanding Krishna, who is the ultimate goal of life. But because the conditioned souls do not know anything beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that end. But through fruitive activities and sense gratification, regulated by the Vedic rituals, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and behave properly. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals, because by direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results one would otherwise derive from following one's prescribed duties. Amiganantamundasya Gananjana Shalakoya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Budave Shrimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swamini Namane. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishatarine. Okay. Alright. So, Na Buddhi Vedam Janayad Ajnanam Karma Sanginam Joshiyat Sarva Karmani Vidvam Yukta Samacharan, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive result of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so we learned previously how Krishna said that it's actually impossible not to work. You can't even maintain your body without working. And in fact, karma can be translated into action or work. That's what karma means. Another meaning of karma is the reaction to actions, a reaction to work. So there is actually, it's not even possible, first of all, to induce someone to stop work completely, because they always have to work. Even if someone, say like a Buddhist monk or something, he may be sitting there, seems like he's not working, but that's actually action in inaction. Right? Krishna says that the learned person, he could see inaction in action, meaning that's the Krishna conscious person. Although he's performing activities, he is not getting any reaction. So it's inaction in action. Whereas someone who may be some sort of monist, practicing some sort of meditation, or maybe even just some lazy guy out on the street just laying there, it looks like he's not doing anything, but that's actually action in inaction. So it looks like he's inactive, but he still has to breathe, he still has to eat eventually. So he's actually getting karmic reaction for that because he's not engaging in devotional service. So that is an example of action and inaction. So to induce someone to stop work completely, it's not even possible. But what Krishna is saying here is that you should not tell that person who is engaged in fruitive activities, or fruitive activities according to the Vedas through prescribed duties, you should not induce him to immaturely give up those activities. In other words, you should not induce him to become a renunciate if that is not his nature. Whereas that's what Arjuna was proposing to Krishna, was that although he was a Kshatriya, he was, in the first chapter, giving Krishna all different types of arguments why he should not fight the battle, although that was actually his duty, that was actually his nature. So that would be an example of somebody desiring to stop his prescribed duty in the sake of so-called stopping work and becoming renounced. And in one of the purports, Prabhupada is explaining how Arjuna actually wanted to go to the forest and become a renunciate, basically transcend the varnas prematurely. So Krishna is saying that a learned person should not induce a person to actually to do that, to give up his prescribed duties, but rather, in a spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So it's just like if a little child is in his house and he's drawing on the wall with like some marker, and he's doing graffiti on the wall of his house, and his parents, he's making a mess. So the parents obviously want to stop him from doing that nonsense activity. So they put him in a chair and they said, you're in trouble and you're because you did this. So you have to sit here for a half hour. That actually, my grandmother used to do this to me when I was about 8 years old. I remember I was just like a wild little kid, and my grandmother would sit me in this chair. And on the chair, she'd say you have to sit there for a half hour, and you can't talk, and you can't do anything, you can't get off the chair. So on the chair, I'd be going upside down on my head, I'd be crawling, I'd be doing the craziest stuff I can do within the limits of what she gave me, because I didn't have any positive engagement. But if she would have stopped me doing my crazy nonsense activities and gave me some positive engagement where I can actually do something, I can actually be active in a positive way, then that would have satisfied my mind, and I would have been productive. So the soul by nature is active, and we're always having to perform activity. And within this material world, covered by the three modes of material nature, we are inclined to act in a certain way. So a Krishna conscious person, or even some highly advanced, maybe even a sannyasi, it's not recommended to preach to somebody who's too entangled in the material modes to immediately give up everything and basically just become a sannyasi like him. Because although it may be taken on sentiment in some examples, maybe people will follow that advice out of being sentimental, or it makes sense to them in the moment, because there's a lack of purification of the consciousness, purification within the heart, he will gradually tend to fall back into his activities of his worldly activities. So the whole point here is Krishna is saying that by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. And in the purport, it's explaining how there's different types of sacrifices, there's different rituals, and there's even different material activities according to the Vedic injunction that's supposed to gradually elevate that soul so he can actually come to the point of renouncing the world maturely, once and for all. There's no going back. So that's what the whole purpose of the Vedas are written for. You know, Veda Vyas is an incarnation, Shaktavesha avatar of Krishna. So he compiled the Vedas, different literatures, to actually bring anybody within any sphere of life, within any condition, any mentality, to help that individual come to the topmost platform of pure Krishna consciousness. And that's why there's 18 Puranas, and divided by the three modes, there's 6 Puranas for each mode. So that's the whole idea. You get someone in the lowest modes of nature, and people with the lack of a broad understanding, they will point out some things within the lower mode literature and say that, oh, religion condones animal slaughter, or prostitution even, or even drinking intoxicants. But these things are actually they are sanctioned in the lower mode Puranas in a regulated way. It's not to promote those activities. Just like I heard one story where I don't know if it was Shama Sundar Prabhu, but it was one Prabhupada's disciples was smoking like 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and then Prabhupada knew of this, and instead of telling him to give it up completely, he first of all told him to like reduce it to 1 pack a day. And one with, like I said, one without a broad understanding, it seems like, wow, why is the sannyasi promoting cigarette smoking? But gradually he said 1 pack a day, then gradually half a pack, then gradually 0 cigarettes a day. And then that person gave up cigarette smoking for the rest of his life. So that's kind of like the idea of the regulation of even sinful activities that are mentioned in the lower mode Puranas, like in the mode of ignorance. It's supposed to gradually elevate one, because human form of life is meant for regulation. So that's the purpose. You get someone in the lower in mode of ignorance, And if he's following the Vedic injunctions and regulating his material activities, it's gradually supposed to bring him to the mode of passion, and then gradually to the mode of goodness, and gradually to pure goodness. So that's the general understanding. That's the Vedic. That's why the Vedic rituals, they gradually elevate one to Krishna consciousness. It's not that it never stops. It never tells any. The Vedas never tell those people in the lower modes to just give up work, but to actually work according to their nature in such a way that they're following the Vedas, so they're actually getting purified by such activities. And it's kind of interesting, karma yoga, there's a few different understandings of this word karma yoga, because we hear like Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that first verse, Anya Balashishi, no, that's the 11th verse, right? 1:11. Anya Balashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhyana Vritam Anukulina Krishnanu Shilanam Bhakti Uttamam. That pure devotional service is free from karma, it's free from jnana, it's free from material motives. So if it's free from karma, then why in the Bhagavad-Gita does Krishna talk about karma yoga? And why does he talk about jnana yoga? So karma yoga could be understood in a few different ways. Well, first of all, there's the vikarmi, which is someone who's not at all following any Vedic injunction or any like religious process at all. They're just acting according to their whims, which is basically most of the population on the earth in Kali Yuga today. They just do whatever they want, and their karma is known as their vikarma, not following anything, or ugra karma. It's like ugra means horrible. So they're engaged in factories and slaughterhouses. It's horrible. And then there's the karmis. There's those who are following karma kanda section in the Vedas. They're actually following the Vedas, but they have a materialistic mentality. So they're doing it for enjoyment, elevation to the heavenly planets, or enjoyment on this earth even. So these people are materialistic, but they do make gradual progress, as Prabhupada says here in the purport. It's gradual progress. But because they're indirectly following Krishna in the form of the Vedas, it was written by Vedavyas. And then there's the Kama Mishra Bhaktas, who are also following karma yoga. So that's we have the followers of the karma kanda, who are following karma yoga, one sense of karma yoga, one definition of karma yoga. Then the other category is the Kama Mishra Bhaktas, and those are devotees who recognize Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're offering the results of their activities to Vishnu, but they're doing it still with the mentality to enjoy it. They still have an enjoying mentality. So these are considered mixed devotees. And it's explained in Bhagavatam how most of the demigods fall into this category of Kama Mishra Bhaktas. Not all of them. Some of them, like Lord Brahma, our specific Lord Brahma in this universe is a pure devotee. And Lord Shiva, obviously, but he's in a different category. And so that's the second kind of classification or category of karma yoga. Then the third one is sakama or nishkama mishra bhakti, which is free from all kama, free from all material desire. And that's the pure devotee. And he's also engaging in karma yoga in the sense that he's performing activity, but it's all connected and it's all offered to Krishna. So that's the pure devotee. And that third category, the pure devotees, doesn't necessarily, when I say pure, doesn't necessarily mean he's achieved Krishna prema or he's a complete Mahabhagavat. I don't know many of your personal lives, but I could say that probably a lot of the people that are within this temple atmosphere are in the sense, pure devotees, that I'm explaining that their life is dedicated to Krishna. They're not getting, they don't have material aspirations to become material prosperous or anything like that. They still may struggle with lingering material desires. They still may be in the platform of anartha and vritti, but they're pure in the sense that their intention is pure and they have a pure motive. So in that sense, they're pure devotees. So it's actually the responsibility, according to Krishna, that devotees, they teach by example. Is that we're not stopping work, we're engaging in activities constantly, but our activities are in a spirit of devotion. And this is actually supposed to guide all of human society, teaching people how to work in devotion. I'm just going to take a sip of water. So it's actually just directing people, just like on the earlier in this chapter. Krishna is explaining that, okay, like I said earlier, you have to perform your prescribed duty. Krishna is telling Arjuna, because doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. But in the next verse, he tells him how to work. He says that you have to work as a sacrifice for Vishnu. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. So it's an interesting point. Krishna is transcendental. He's not of this world. So he actually doesn't have any duty to perform himself. So you'll hear Prabhupada in his classes, he often says, Krishna has nothing to do. And I was just here in a class recently, and this was in 1966. So someone asked the question after class, like, what does that mean? He has nothing to do. Does he just kind of like sit there for all of eternity? But that's not what it means. Actually, Krishna has many things to do. He has so many pastimes in the spiritual world, Goloka, Vrindavan, and Vaikuntha. And when he comes to this world, he's doing so many things. But what it means is he doesn't have to do anything. He's not obligated to perform work. He's not bound by karma. He doesn't fit within a varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Although when he comes here, he takes on the role of a specific varna. When he's in Vrindavan, he's in a Vaishya community. And then the battle of Kurukshetra, obviously he's a Kshatriya. And he actually Krishna makes that point, that if I didn't perform my prescribed duties according to the Kshatriya class, because I'm acting as a Kshatriya, the whole world would follow my example, and this whole world would be put to ruination. So even when Krishna comes here, he performs prescribed duties according to the role that he is playing, to guide people in general. And as followers of Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna is saying in this verse that it's a good idea for us to do the same. None of us are Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras. We're all just servants of Krishna. These are just designations because we are bound by three modes of material nature. I assume most of us probably aren't completely 100% purified, where we can act beyond the Daivi Varnarsham. So these Varnas and these ashrams are they're to facilitate one to, again, make further progress. Just like this purport saying, all the Vedas, all the material activities mentioned in the Vedas, all the sacrifices. It doesn't say it here, but it says it in other places. You can also add even the varnas people act in, and even the ashrams people act in. It's an ashram. It's a spiritual direction in life to actually facilitate you. It's not the ultimate goal. It's just like a tool. So basically, like I was saying a minute ago, Krishna doesn't have to do anything, but he does many things for his pastimes. So in the same way, those who are 100% pure and who are past the obligations of varna and ashram, they don't have to perform all the preliminary sacrifices according to the lower mode, like the different Puranas I explained that are for those in the mode of ignorance or passion, and even those in the mode of goodness. These sacrifices are actually meant for those who are not completely pure devotees. So one who is a completely pure devotee is almost, in a sense, as transcendental as Krishna, because he's not obligated to work necessarily. Because the only reason why someone would be obligated to work is because they're still bound to this material world. So this is one thing that kind of came up, like, I don't know, maybe a month ago, when we asked this question. I think Tribhuvanath Prabhu was giving class, and I brought that point up. I don't know why I brought that point up. It was something in his class. I asked the question about chapter 12, and basically I was asking because in chapter 12, Krishna first of all says that one should actually, one second, I'm just pulling it up. If one worships the personal form, giving up all activities to me. Oh yeah, those who worship the personal form, he basically gives it from the top to the bottom, like the topmost engagement, which is just to completely fix your mind upon me always and have all your intelligence, your energy, everything absorbed in me. And that's kind of like, maybe you could say like a Bhajananandi. You know, he just kind of sits there, he's just completely absorbed in meditation on Krishna's pastimes and his holy names. But most people obviously aren't on that level yet. So they have to go through, if he says if you can't do that, then you perform sadhana. And he said, yeah, exactly, this is what he says. If you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regular principles of bhakti-yoga. Perform sadhana bhakti. But if you can't do this, then just work for me. Because if you work for Krishna, you'll gradually come to the perfect stage. And then this next verse is when I ask the question, because Krishna says, if, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. So I brought up the point that it doesn't say give up the results of your work unto me. In the purport, it actually explains that if one cannot work for Krishna and give the results of his work directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at least he should practice detachment by giving those results of his activities to some good cause, some good material cause. And this is what Prabhupada says, that if one is not, if he is unable to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness, at least one should give in charity to one's country or some community service or national service or social service or something like that, some philanthropic activity for a material good cause. So why would Krishna say that? It seems like we know that even if you perform good karma, you're still bound to this material world. You still have to take birth. If you're not actually engaging in devotional service, pious karma, you have to burn that karma out, even though it's enjoyable karma, it may be in the heavenly planets or whatever, it's still filled with miseries, birth, death, old age, and disease, etc. Same thing, we don't want bad karma or good karma, we want a karma, no karma at all. And so, but Prabhupada says, and so, the question is, why would Krishna say to perform a material activity? How would this elevate one to gradually accept Krishna consciousness? Well, one may answer, maybe it gradually elevates him to the mode of goodness. And we learn that in the mode of goodness, you have more clarity, your consciousness is more clear. So it's easier for those in the mode of goodness to accept Krishna consciousness. Not always, actually, because a lot of people get attached to the mode of goodness. Meaning, in the Bhagavad-Gita, I don't know what verse, I'm so sorry, but it says that those in the mode of goodness get attached to enjoyment. They get attached to happiness. They think this world is a happy place. Their mind is peaceful. Because they're in the mode of goodness, they may have a good diet. They might live in nature somewhere. And so they're living a nice material life. And they might be into philosophy, so their intelligence is stimulated. So they're enjoying their intelligence and they're enjoying their senses. So it could also bring about attachment to this material world. But it can also bring about a platform where it's easier to accept the Krishna consciousness philosophy. But that mode of goodness comes, first of all, it could elevate one to the mode of goodness, yes. But Prabhupada says in this purport that such procedures of actually offering the results of your work to some good cause is actually described in the Vedic rules. Vyasadeva actually describes this in the Vedas, that this is actually following the Vedic injunction. And when I read that, I was just thinking how liberal Krishna is. Krishna is very liberal. People may unknowingly, indirectly, be following Krishna in some way or another and may not even be knowing it. If any time someone gives to a good cause or some, like the vegan society or whatever, we may call it a material activity, which it is, but indirectly, kind of from afar back, you're some way or another following the Vedic injunctions in such a way that you're trying to do good for the world, you're trying to have compassion for humanity. So it's gradually bringing one to the point of being able to accept the Krishna consciousness philosophy. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. I'll ask for questions after, and you can ask the questions. So the whole point of the matter is that even in charity, obviously Krishna explains in the 17th chapter how there's different activities in the different modes of material nature. So even charity could be given in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. You just give some drunk guy on the street like $10. It's charity in the mode of ignorance. That's not going to really elevate you so much. But so the point I was making, bringing it back to this verse, is that the whole Vedic system is meant to actually involve the whole world. That's why Srila Prabhupada said 50% of his work was incomplete, because this Daivi Varnashram system of gradually engaging the world in an indirect, it's actually, Daivi Varnashram is a little bit different, but Varnashram is an indirect way to engage people in Krishna consciousness, because not everybody is going to be ready to surrender fully, unfortunately. And it's kind of revolutionary, Lord Chaitanya's movement, because he's taking people off the street, V-karmis who don't know anything about Krishna, and instead of engaging them in the gradual process of purification, it just engaged directly into sadhana, directly into preaching, directly into book distribution, and a month later you're on the Vyasa-san giving a Bhagavad-Gita class, and you just like started learning the philosophy. So I know some people have questions. So anybody have any questions? Yes, my tray of blue.
Anywhere philanthropy, altruism, if it's not connected to Krishna, how can it reap transcendental results? If the results of that work are temporary, it's more or less useless.
Yeah, that's the point I was making. That's what it seems like, and that's the conception I had. But we had this discussion maybe like a month ago or so, where it's actually indirectly you're following the Vedic rules, because Krishna actually describes that if one, like right here, if you're unable to work in this consciousness of me, in other words, if you're unable to work for me, giving the results to me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. And if you want, I can read the purport.
Well, that's better than making war.
What was that?
Karma is more or less desirable. It's better than making war.
Yeah. Better than making war. Karma.
Yeah. I mean,
what do you mean?
Behave peacefully in a certain way.
Yeah, well anyways, in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining that if one is unable to even, it may be that one is unable even to sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness because of social, family, or religious considerations, or because some other impediments. If one attaches himself directly to the activities of Krishna consciousness, there may be objections from family members or so many other difficulties. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated results of his activities to some good cause. Such procedures are described in the Vedic rules. There are many descriptions of sacrifices and special functions, and then he explains a little bit about that, but if you go down a little bit, it says that thus one may gradually become elevated to the state of knowledge. It is also found that when one who is not even interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or to some other social institution, he gives up the hard-earned results of his activities. That is also recommended here, because by the practice of giving up the fruits of one's activities, one is sure to purify his mind gradually, and in that purified stage of mind, one becomes able to understand Krishna consciousness. So it's like very indirect. It's not directly transcendental, but because these procedures are offered in the Vedic rules, gradually it purifies your mind up to the point where you can finally accept Krishna consciousness. How long that will take, I don't know. It might take many lifetimes.
Right.
Yeah.
More or less useless.
Yeah.
But I have another question. So there's karma and dhyana. And karma is rooted where dhyana is speculative. So if you add devotion to karma, it becomes karma yoga. If you add devotion to yoga, dhyana, it becomes dhyana yoga. Why is now karma yoga equated with bhakti-yoga?
Yeah, well, I was trying...
You were trying to explain that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you clarify that a bit more?
Yeah. So, maybe I didn't make it so clear. I was trying to tell that there's actually... You can describe karma yoga in three basic categories. And first of all, one of them is like materialistic karma, like those who are following karma kandya activities. And it's still considered karma yoga because they're following the Vedic injunctions. So it's indirectly, gradually elevating them again, gradually elevating them to accept Krishna consciousness. So that's like materialistic karma yoga. And then there's the karma yoga of those who have mixed devotion. Like I said, the Kama Mishra Bhaktis. They are engaging in offering the results of their activity to Vishnu, like the demigods are, but they still have a desire to enjoy. So it's mixed devotion. But then karma yoga can also be equated to pure devotion, because you're giving everything to Krishna. It's yoga, it's connecting with Krishna, but it's through karma, it's through activity. You can say what we do in one sense is karma yoga. It's Krishna. It's fully Krishna consciousness. It's transcendental. So there's three different categories you can call karma yoga. One materially motivated, one mixed, and one purely transcendental.
Well, we used to understand that karma yoga meant you do what you want to do and just give the results of Krishna.
Yeah,
And now we're talking about
that's Kama Mishra Bhakti. That's Kama Mishra Bhakti.
Demigods, are they actually performing mixed devotional service? Because they have material desires doesn't mean that they're performing mixed devotional service. They're actually karma devotees. And devotees with material desires, which is a bit different. That's not mixed devotional service.
I would say it is a little bit mixed devotion. Yeah.
And they're not following karma kanda.
I've never said they were. That was the first category I said.
Make it mixed.
Yeah.
It's simply pure devotional service.
No, mixed is like they still have a motive for them. They have still a selfish motive for themselves, but they're offering results to Krishna.
I always understood mixed with the process of jnana yoga or karma yoga, which is different from following bhakti-yoga within pure desires. The two are different.
Wait, can you say the last sentence again? I'm sorry.
Well, mixed devotional service means devotional service mixed with karma kanda or jnana kanda. But you can be performing devotional service with material desires, but it's not necessarily mixed. It's just impure.
Yeah.
That's
I
very
guess
clear.
someone can, why are they offering the results to Vishnu though?
Well,
The
they're
mentality
performing
is to enjoy a lot of the times. To enjoy those results. And they do perform.
That's not bhakti-yoga then, is it?
Well, that's
If you
why.
want to enjoy the results, it's not even karma yoga.
It's Kama Mishra Bhakti.
Not if you want to enjoy the results.
Yeah, it's Kama Mishra Bhakti. It means Kama means lust. You still have lust. You still have material desires for yourself, but you're engaging in bhakti, which is actually recommended for those in that platform.
It can't be bhakti if you want to enjoy the results, can it?
It could be mixed bhakti. I'm not going around in circles. I'm just giving the straightforward answer. One second. Oh, you had a question? I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
So, as I recall, and I'm not perfectly certain, but there's Kama Mishra, Karma. There's other more subcategories there that you all two are touching upon. But there's another word in there. Kama Mishra, Karma Bhakti, or something of that nature. And then there's Kama Mishra, Jnana Bhakti. There's a whole other category with at least, I think it's Shiram Swami Maharaj's literature. I can't remember where I read it. But anyways, there's a whole other word in there. There's not only this Kama Mishra Bhakti, but there's another whole category that you all are touching upon with Jnana and Karma that explain it all. That would satisfy it all. But he has I took it from him.
Yeah, that Bhagavatam verse, kama sarva kama va moksha kama dadati tevrana bhakti-yogena. Forgot the last one, but yeah, even was that Lord Shiva saying that, or I forgot who was saying that. But whether you're full of desire, whether you're free from desire, whether you have desire for liberation, you should engage in devotional activities.
In the beginning, you were speaking about the activities. Everybody had to do some activities. In the beginning, you were speaking about the activities where everybody has to do the activities. So when we are doing the activities, knowingly, unknowingly, we don't know what we are doing. Just we are giving the example of yourself, the issue and the last question in the chair. To give some example like that. So you see, this Prabhupada also explained this. You cannot be inactive. So we are all active, but in different stages of life. We are assigned in the particular way. I work in a different way. When I am in Krishna consciousness, I am working in a different way. So active yes is always there in this conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is always active. He cannot be inactive.
Okay.
So my point is that when we are all active, but unknowingly, when we are not in Krishna consciousness and whatever we are doing, does that affect us in our life?
Wait, that last sentence? I'm sorry. Can you repeat just those last 10 words?
No, I say when we are in materialist way,
Yeah.
we are not Krishna conscious. Whatever activities we are doing, whether good or bad, does it affect us in our next life also?
Yeah, of course, yeah. It does.
But just like when you are devotee, if you are doing anything, so you are saved from those things. But when you are in the materialist way, you are not saved from them.
So when you're a devotee, you're saved from those things.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Can you give me an example? You're saved from what things?
Just like in materialist way, whatever activities we do, we don't know about what is good for us, what is bad for us. We do those things. But in the spiritual life, you know everything, what is good and what is bad for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the activities which we know this is not good for us, and if we do, then we have to suffer. And if we know these activities are favorable, we serve Krishna, we think about Krishna, that is favorable and that is good for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the differences between the materialist and the spiritual is a lot of difference that whatever the active, the body is active, but the different activities is doing. The materialist activities are different, spiritual activities are different. So there we are bound in the materialist way, but in the spiritual way we are not bound. We are free from various serving.
Right. Thank you.
That is the point.
Nice point. Sure.
You see, as Prabhuji was asked that question, so you see, I just wanted to understand what is the question and what is I could not understand anything.
What was it?
Jnana-nishra and karma-nishra bhakti.
Yeah.
Prabhuji was saying, when we do some karma and then we become Krishna and become yoga.
You're asking what his question
I'm not
was.
asking question, I just wanted to understand.
You're asking what his question was.
Yes,
I think more or less what your question was correct me if I'm wrong, was because I made the point about Kama Mishra Bhakti and Sakama Mishra Bhakti. So if someone has a material motive but is still engaging in karma yoga, is that even considered devotional service at all? How is that mixed? Wouldn't that be just considered following karma kanda because you have a selfish motive? You asked a lot of things, but that's kind of the gist of it. Am I wrong?
Well, I was making a distinction between mixed devotional service and devotional
Okay.
Distinction there.
You were asking the
Because
distinction.
a devotee has material desires, it doesn't necessarily mean he's practicing mixed devotional service.
Yeah, and I tried to make that point in the class, that even if someone has material desires within his heart, but he's not necessarily acting on them, whether he's trying to give them up, he is in one sense considered a pure devotee because he has a pure intention, a pure motive. He's really trying to give that up. So if that type of devotee is engaging in devotional service, that can be considered on one level pure devotional service. But if someone has material desire and he's still acting on them, but at the same time he's engaging in activity and he's offering those results to Krishna, he's still considered a devotee, but he may not be considered on the platform of pure devotional service. It may be mixed with mixed devotional service. Or in other words, kama mishra bhakti. You still have kama, you still have lust. I don't know if he's not satisfied with the answer, but that was the gist of the conversation that went on. Oh.
I have a question. Devotees that the devotee wants to cultivate his ability in Krishna consciousness. Do he do the what is best for him? First of all, he becoming in Krishna consciousness. In the process, we don't know the philosophy or he has several thoughts in several years. But he want to know that cultivating the family Krishna consciousness or the Lord will take care of his family. Anything. Lord will take care of his family or just serve the Lord. Or the family not able to take Krishna consciousness, the spiritual level says, one cannot serve his child or Guru, like Guru Nasasya, Krishna Nasasya, Guru Nasasya, Deva Nasasya, just pronounce it. And again, Narsing Veda also says, if one Krishna consciousness up to 7 generations up and 7 generations down, will take care of. What is the best thing for you?
Well, yeah. What was that? Can I try to clarify your question a little bit? Because he said he didn't really understand. Because the mic, I think, was a little bit muffled or something. But I heard most of it. You're saying what is best for the devotee, how to deal with his family, if he's right.
Best thing for becoming the servant of Krishna or serving the family also.
Serving Krishna and also the family. Or also the family.
Just serving Krishna. Krishna take care of his family.
Well, okay. I'm from America, so our tradition is a lot different than in India. And even Prabhupada made that statement one time that the one good thing about the Americans is that they're not too attached to the families, so that they were able to give their whole life to the movement. Whereas I see here, I don't even know the details of it so much, but what I understand is that there's more of a family tradition, and that the sons are expected to somehow make money and take care of, the parents, because they feel obligated because the parents raised them, and the parents are expecting the son to take care of them in that way, which is undoubtedly a noble thing, because obviously someone who took care of you for your whole life, it seems like a noble thing to do is to help them out. But the most noble thing is why do you even exist in the first place? Krishna, you exist because Krishna's your real father. And Krishna is your mother, Krishna is your father, Krishna is your everything. So in that sense, Krishna is your real parent. So with that being said, and understanding that you are an individual, and you have your own life to live, and the goal of life is to reawaken Krishna Prema. We all know this, go back to Godhead. So with this understanding, anything that's going to get in the way of that ultimate goal of going back to Godhead should not be taken very seriously. But what I'm not saying that one should completely abandon the family, but I am saying that is maybe I don't want to say a last resort, but that's an option if the family may be an obstacle on that person, because the whole reason why the parents exist in the first place is to help that child not ever have to take birth again. So if the parents are doing the opposite and telling, why are you a devotee of Krishna, we want you to work in this world, then they're actually doing the opposite of what they're supposed to be doing as parents. So in that sense, just like the spiritual master, if he's not following he's not following the Shastra, he's not following Krishna, he's fit to be abandoned. So in the same way, I know that Prabhupada gave the permission of Vishnu Jan Swami. When he first joined, he actually had a wife and he had a kid, and he was trying to make them into devotees, but the wife did not want to become a devotee at all, and he tried many times. But Prabhupada said, try to make them devotees, but if not, you have my permission to give them up and to completely surrender to Krishna, because that's the first obligation. So that's there. If one is able to make the family devotees, that's like amazing. And I know many examples of devotees who made their whole family into devotees, their aunts, their uncles, their brother, mom, dad. But that's not always the case. And at least for my example, it may be different because I'm from America, but when I first joined, my dad did not want me to be a devotee. He wanted me to go get a job. My mom thought I had joined a crazy cult, and she did not want, and my grandmother did not want me to be a part of it. My sister started crying because she thought that she lost her brother forever. But I just hold my ground. This is what I was going to do. I didn't care what they had to say. If they really loved me as, a part of their family, then they would accept me as who I am. And this is what I want to do with my life. So they can either accept that or whatever, I'm going to live my own life. So they actually appreciated that, and later on down the line, now they're all very favorable. My mother's more or less is kind of a devotee, and yeah, they're all really favorable. So I know many examples of that happening also. But like I said, India is different, so that's all I can say. And Parameshwar had something to say. Okay.
What the best thing is to do? Either the family is favorable or unfavorable. Let's take an example of Narada Muni's son, Prajapati considered. He made the Prajapati's all his sons to be devotees.
Oh, you're saying the sons of Daksha, right? Yeah.
His all sons to be devotees.
Parameshwar, please answer.
If I may, I asked the same questions to my authority, and the answer that satisfied me, and all that was perfect, honestly, and needed to be shared. The one thing that helped me go full speed ahead and fully surrender was where he said that, and you'll find this within the scriptures, evidence for this, where he said if one becomes a pure devotee, then automatically so many generations in the past in the front become liberated. So the best thing to do is to become a pure devotee.
Yeah.
So that's the number one thing. And if you can't do that, then you have some material obligations. You have some enlightened dharma that you're responsible for. But if you're fully surrendered, then you're free from all these obligations. family obligation and everything else. Krishna will take perfect care of your family. Now, the ultimate then would be is fully surrender, and if you can, while you're fully surrendered, invite your parents over to the temple, give them some books, try to help them become devotees while you're continuing with your service. Not that you give up your service and you go hang out with a bunch of, non-devotees or mixed devotees and then become a mixed devotee or non-devotee. But no, you become a pure devotee and you can try to bring other people, like you're on the ship going back from the Godhead, and you can throw out life preservers. But you don't get thrown off the ship this way. Right? You see my point? Exactly. Okay. That's imperative. Otherwise, I see so many devotees be on the ship, but because of family attachments, the strongest attachment, they fall off the ship and fall away from Krishna consciousness. And they might think that this is a better way to go, because I'm trying to make my family devotees. They're actually attached. They're materially attached, and they're not making the best decision for their family or for themselves. Thank you.
No. What Krishna says? Sarva dharma prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja ham tam sarva papabhyo mokshaya shamashaha. Abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me, and I'll save you from all sinful reactions.
Sarva dharma. You have all these dharmas. Family obligations. One of the dharmas to take care of your family is a dharma. If you're not a pure devotee. So Krishna is saying, become my pure devotee, and you don't have to deal with any of these dharmas. Do not fear, do not worry.
Jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Jai.